Welcome to Data Dialogue, the podcast where we explore the world of data privacy and protection. I'm Woman's Name.
And I'm Man's Name. Today we're launching a three-part series diving into Thailand's Personal Data Protection Act, or the PDPA. In this first episode, we'll cover the basics. What is the PDPA, and who needs to pay attention?
Exactly. It's a law that impacts everyone in Thailand, but many people are still unsure about what it really means for them. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is the PDPA?
The Personal Data Protection Act, or PDPA, was enacted in 2019 to protect the personal data of individuals in Thailand. It's designed to make sure that personal information is collected, used, and disclosed responsibly and transparently. It sets out the rights of data subjects and the obligations of data controllers and data processors. The core idea is to give individuals more control over their personal information.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about control and responsible handling of data. When did this law actually come into effect?
That's an important point. While the law was enacted in 2019, most of the key provisions relating to data protection, such as those in Chapter 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and Sections 95 and 96, came into effect 1 year after its publication in the Government Gazette. This gave organizations some time to prepare and become compliant.
So the clock has been ticking and compliance is now crucial. Now let's move on to who this applies to. Who is legally obligated to follow this act?
The PDPA has a broad reach. It applies to any data controller or data processor that is in Thailand, regardless of whether the collection, use, or disclosure of personal data takes place in Thailand or not. This means if you're operating a business in Thailand, you're likely covered. Moreover, it also applies to entities outside of Thailand if they offer goods or services to people in Thailand, or monitor the behavior of people in Thailand.
So, if you're running a local business, a multinational corporation with Thai operations, or even an overseas e-commerce site selling to Thai customers, this law applies to you. That's quite broad.
Precisely. It's not just about where you're based, but also where your data subjects are located. To make this even clearer, the law defines a data controller as a person or entity who decides how and why personal data is processed, and a data processor as someone who processes data on behalf of the data controller. Both have obligations under this law.
That's a useful distinction. So, a cloud service provider could be a data processor, while a company using that cloud service would be the data controller. Now let's clarify what constitutes personal data under this act. What kind of information are we talking about?
According to the PDPA, personal data is any information that can identify a person directly or indirectly. This is a key definition. This can include obvious things like your name, address, or ID number, but it also includes things like your email address, phone number, photos, IP address, and even your location. It's important to note that this does not include information of deceased persons. Also, the Act is not applicable to a person who collects data for personal or household activity.
So, it is a wide range of data. Anything that can reasonably be used to identify an individual is considered personal data under the PDPA. So, to summarize, this law affects almost every organization and individual in Thailand, or those dealing with Thailand in some way.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this episode, let's touch on some of the key exceptions. Are there any situations where the PDPA doesn't apply?
Yes, there are a few specific exceptions. The Act does not apply to personal data collected for personal or household activities, operations of public authorities regarding national security, financial security of the state, and public safety, including duties with respect to the prevention and suppression of money laundering, forensic science, or cybersecurity, mass media, fine arts, or literature activities, activities related to the work of the Parliament, the courts, and credit bureaus.
These exceptions are crucial for understanding the scope of the PDPA. It is a broad law, but it's not all-encompassing. That's all the time we have for today, but in our next episode we will dive into the rights of the data subject and the obligations of the data controller.
Absolutely. Stay tuned, and thank you for joining us on Data Dialogue.
This has been Data Dialogue.
Until next time, stay informed and protect your data.